Welcome back everyone. This is the third video of the top trending movies application that we are trying to build it on the MVVM pattern with the using of the observable or boxing methodology. Now we are going to create a network connection to a website to getting all these data and all the images from it and also the details of each movie that you can see from here. The website API is free. I'm going to put the link of the website inside the description. Also you can find the whole project, the GitHub link inside the description as well, so don't worry about that. You are going to have all the links inside the description. So let me introduce the website to you. The website that we are trying to get API from it is the moviedb.org. It provides a list of data related to the movies, trending movies, image, posters, or every series that actually available these days or in the past in the cinemas or on the TVs. So we are not going through this website a lot. We just need one endpoint to get top trending movies from that. You can easily register in the website, and when you navigate to the your profile and then click on the settings, you will come to this page. In this page, then you navigate to the API section. As you can see on the left side, you will have your API key. This API key will help you to get a request to this website based on the documentation that it's provide for you freely. The documentation here, when you click on this documentation, the link of all the documentation will be open for you. And if you're just searching, for example, like me, for the trending movies or trending endpoint, it will be get you all the information that you need for that. It is the get type, the endpoint, and the parameters that you have to pass, and the media type. For example, here you can pass all movie, TV, or person. For the time window, you can pass day, week, and at the end you have to provide your API key. So when you do the request, some JSON file will be passed to you. Just look at the request here. It has all the API, the moviedb.org, the version of the API they provided for you. We are looking for the trending section. Then we have the all, then we have the daily, and at the end we have the API key. Please use your own API key because I'm going to delete the API key from this website. It is just based on the training of this video or educational purpose, so I can't use this as the commercial thing. So please register own API key. Then you have your endpoint, and then you have your data. The best way to present this raw JSON file, I'm using sometimes this kind of the websites, JSON presenter. You prefer whatever you need to do that. It doesn't matter a lot, but you can use the JSON parser.online.fr. I'm using it a lot. And if you paste the JSON file, and if it is a valid one, it will be represented correctly to you. And each object it's containing the page result, and we can use these representer to get better data from the JSON file. But for the bonus, I'm going to show you a website that it is easily convert a raw JSON file to a model for you. Then you can use that model to parse your data inside your Xcode application. The website is called app.quicktype.io. I'm going to put the link inside the description of this video. As you can see, you can on the left side you can simply paste your raw JSON file that you get from here into the website, and if you want to take a look at it in the nice view, you can use this website. But when you paste on the QuickType website, it will give you the complete model that will be work and map to that JSON file, and we're going to use this one inside our model to creating the result type and the model when we are requesting data to the endpoint to getting the trending movies from that website. So this is a good website, QuickType. I'm not a sponsor of this website, but I really like it and use it a lot in my own projects. Now that we have all the information related to how to get the data and how to parse it, we are going to implement it in our application to getting the data and populate it in our table view. So we directly go into the networking folder, and first of all we need a class to put our network constants there. The network constants will be all the needs that like API key, the server address, and all the things that it's just constant. You don't going to change it all the time. So we put it in that class. We create our class, and for the simplicity and using it better, because we need it in all over the app, I suggested to create a singleton class. So I'm creating the network constants class and make it as a singleton. To create a singleton class, we just need some shared variable. It should be a static and also public. So I'm going to create a public variable, and I'm going to call it a public static variable, and I'm going to call it as the shared. It should be a reference to our own class. And for the singleton, you need to have the private initializer. In that case, nobody can actually initialize objects to it. This is just because of the singleton pattern that this class has. So now what else we have to put inside our network constants? First of all, we need the API key. So I'm creating a public variable. I'm going to call it as the API key. It should be a string. And also I'm going to just make it as a read only by specifying the only get parameters. And you have to return your API key here. So please get your API key from the website that I provided there for you, and put it here. I'm going to put my own API key now, but as I told you, I'm going to delete this account, so please register your APIs and register your name inside this website and getting your API keys. And what else we need here? We need to have the server address. So I'm going to get create another variable here, public var server address. It's gonna be a string again, and just the read only function. You know that if we specifying the get here, it means that it is not settable. You can't set it from other places. It is just read only. So I'm going to just returning the server address that I show you. You can have it inside the documentation of that website, and it will be returning back your server address. One more thing that website mentions is that when you are going to getting the image, the server address for the image is somehow different. In the JSON file, you will just have the path or the name of the image, and you have to combine it inside another URL to getting the data. So I'm going to create another variable here, and I will call it as the image server address. It will be a string again, and it will be read only. You can find all these informations inside the documentation of that website. Also, I will provide all these information in the description as well, so don't worry about it. Now we have our network constants. I created it as a singleton, so I can access all the API key, server address, and image servers very easily. So where we should call the API, where we should getting the data, I prefer to create some colors or API routers or API colors for getting the data as a static, so I can call it from everywhere inside my application. So inside the network grouping, I'm going to create another class here. I will call it as the API color and create its own class, API color. It will be so simple. I'm not going to use this class very a lot in our application, so I'm not going to make it so scalable. Creating a networking class, a scalable networking class, it's a whole story. So we are not going to put the time for the networking section a lot here. I'm just demonstrating it for you. So the only thing that we want to get the data from that server is just one endpoint that I'm going to call it as a static function, so I can call it from everywhere, and the function name will be get trending movies. It will be returned a list of the movies for us, but how we are going to manage that, how we are going to retaining the list of the movies. We don't have still the movies or the movies model here. So let's create our model based on what we get from that website. For that, we have to just go to the model section and create a new file inside that group. I'm going to call my model name as the trending movies model, and it will be contain all the models that related to the trending movies. As you remember, we use the website to generate our codes for us. I'm just going to copy and paste all the generated model that came from that website. We pass the raw JSON file, and then coming back here, and we have the model here. The only thing that I change here, I change the result to the movie. If you use that website to convert the raw JSON file for you, it will be create a result structure here. And because the result structure is a type that we are going to use inside our API color, I just change the result name here to the movie. So bear it in your mind that you have to change it here. So now that we have our model, we can just simply create our color here. In the Swift language, we can using the completion handler, because calling the endpoint or getting data from the server may be costing you some time. You have to wait for that. Because of that reason, we have a good approach inside the Swift, and we call it as a completion handler. So this function can have a completion handler, and because the data will be coming from another thread, we are going to use as the escaping function here, and also we are going to using a result type here. I'm just naming it as a result, but because when we use this completion handler, this result will be appear there. You will see it what I'm talking about later on when we are going to use this function. But the own result type will be consisting of the successful and the failure. If it was succeed, we are going to passing our model, and if it is not, we have to pass a sort of the error here. And then, like all the completion handler, we have to returning a void at the end of that completion handler. But with the help of the enums, we can create our own error names here. As you can see, I already created our own network error. This is just an enum that inherited from the error files. We can replace it with the error result type that we are talking about. I just thinking about two cases, URL error and cannot parse data error. So whatever actually happened, we can just passing these kind of the errors to the caller. Now we need the URL string to call the data. As you saw in the documentation of that website, there is a complete URL there that you have to use separately and adding your API key to it. With the help of the network constants that we created as a singleton, we can create our own URL string very easily. So let URL string equal to network constants dot shared dot server address, and then what else we need. From the documentation of that website, you just only need to passing the trending and all the things that you need from that, and also the API key, and the API key will be coming again from the network constants dot shared dot API key. So this is all you need to have your URL string. But for the URL, using the URL string, you have to convert it to the URL. That function is using inside the URL session, and it will be not always working. So we are going to use the guard let URL equal to URL, and if you are saying that, it will be getting an string, and we are going to pass our URL string here that we just created here. And if it can't convert to a URL address, then we are going to continuing our codes there. But if it's not, it should be thrown an error from that point. Because we are using the guard methodology here, we can before returning from that point, we can call our completion handler, and because it is a result based, we can just pass the failure, and inside our failure it will be asking for a network error, the custom network error that we created here, and I can just passing the URL error. So when the caller actually called the get trending movies, in the response, if it was failed, you can find out, okay, the error related to the URL, not related to the parsing data or not related to the other things. You know, you can actually play with this part to solve that issue. Now we have our URL, we can actually using it to getting the data. We are going to call the URL session, the methodology that actually Apple use, even it has a singleton. So the URL session data task, as you can see, we have a lot of things going on here, but we just need the URL simply to and returning back some data for us. So I'm going to use with URL and the completion handle that it has. For the URL, I'm going to pass our own URL here, and for the completion handler, it will give us three types of the data. One is the data response that I'm going to represent it as the data response in this way, the URL response, and also the error itself. When we are calling the data with the URL session, always be remember at the end, for that call to be happen, you have to put the resume at the end of that. You can use some kind of the third parties to calling the endpoints, but the URL session is default by the Apple, so you can actually use it in Swift language very easily. When we are going to parsing the data, first of all, we should check if we don't have any error or not, and also if the data response is not nil, then we can approaching to converting or parsing the data. So with that, we can easily using the if methodology here, if error is equal to nil, or let data is data equal to the data response, it means that error is nil, it means we don't have error, and then we have some data, then we are going to have the result data. And the result data will be coming by parsing the JSON data that we are receiving here. Because the JSON decoder that Apple provide for us, it will be throw some error to us. We can use the try with the question mark here, and then using the JSON decoder and trying to decode the data. As you can see, it will be throws error. So because of that, we are using the try, and we are using the question mark here because we are in the if section environment. So decode, it will asking, okay, I'm trying to decode to what kind of the methods. We are passing the model name to as a type that you can use to map all the JSON file and decode them to that model from which data, from the data response that we put it here. If all of them happened without any error, it means that we're good. But if not, there isn't any issue with the error, with the data, then with the result data, oh sorry, we have to pass the data, not the data response here, because we are checking the data here, and if it is available or not nil, we can actually using it inside the try. So if all of these three conditions is valid, it means that okay, we are good to go, we can pass the data. But if not, we are going to this section as the else, and we can just using the completion handler, and again it's going to be a failure. But what kind of the failure? Cannot parse data. It means that we get the data, but somehow either we have the error, or we can actually get the data from data response, or we have some errors in the parsing. We can't parse the data and pass the real ones to the caller. So we just put the completion handler as a failure here. But if not, we can just use the completion handler as a success case and just passing the result data that we coming from the decoding of the JSON decoder, and map it to the trending movie model that we just created. If you look at the type of the result data here, you can see that it is a type of trending movie model that we created. So the JSON decoder try to decode all the raw JSON files to this type, and then we, with the help of the completion handler, we pass it to its own color. Now let's see how we are going to use our API caller and getting the trending movies inside our view model and test it if really returning back anything to us or not. As I said, all the logics related to the getting any data will be happening inside our view models. So we are going to main view model that we have. I'm going to create a function called get data. And inside our get data, I'm going to call our API caller, one method that we have, get trending movies. And if I hit enter again, you can see that it will be automatically completed for me. You can see here we have the result name here. That result name is exactly coming from this part because we specified after the underline, and it will be automatically putting it for ourselves. So for parsing or getting the data from the result type, we need to use the switch result, and then we are going to have two cases. Either it will be success, so we have the data, or we may have failure. It means that we are going to have some error. Let me see. For the success, I'm just going to print top trending counts, and let me see what we have inside our data.results.count. yeah, and for the error, I'm going to just print whatever actually coming inside that error for us. So I'm just typing and printing the error here. So let's see. Yes, all good. For the testing, I can just call the get data from our controller here. but I'm going to test it inside the did appear function when the view appeared completely for me. So just trying to do that. ViewModel dot get data. That's all you need to do. So let's see what will be happen inside our result now. Okay, as you can see, we have the top trending counts. It's equal to the 20. It means that they get all the data from the server and return it back to us. So now we can use all these 20 rows inside our table view and create the UI for representing the data for that. See you in the next part that we are going to design our cells and talking about how to passing the data and creating the view models for the cells.